Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Williamson County Schools Athletic Director Darrin joins. As always, alongside me, my co-host, Tate Mathews. Tate, big games in Week 5.
Ooh, big games.
Lots of region implications.
Lots of region implications. You were very proud of your picks, I know, so I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, man, whoo, never a dull moment, right?
And they're all going to seem big now, right?
Everything's wide open now.
All right, before we get started with those football games, which I know we're excited to talk about, let's talk about some fall sports. We'll start with cross country. Tate, I thought I was impressed by this. Independence girls won the Southern Showcase in Huntsville, Alabama. But here's what really impressed me. There's a sophomore, Julia Halterman. She had a time of 19:26, which is the 6th fastest in school history.
There's been some good cross-country runners in Independence.
Absolutely, there have been. So I was really impressed by that. And here's something that was kind of odd. It may qualify as a nugget, by the way.
Jim.
Is it a gym or
Joins gyms.
It qualifies as something. Independence Boys, for the first time in school history, had 4 runners come in at 16:30 and under. Now you think about that. 4 guys 16:30 and under. But here's what I thought was interesting. Also had the 6th fastest time in school history on the boys' side. That was Preston Hansley. He had a time of 16:11.
Very strong. That is definitely a nugget. That's a gem. That's a Joins gym.
Or a nugget, either one.
A nugget. I like it.
Franklin boys finished 6th, and the girls, we're getting a little knock on the window from the producer here. Finished 6th, and the girls 11th at the Trinity Invite in Louisville, Kentucky. In soccer, the Battle of the Woods on Thursday night was Brentwood, a 2-0 winner over Ravenwood. Franklin had a big district win over Summit, 2-0. And here's something I thought was really says something a lot about the soccer in our area. Centennial, really not known as a power, they go take on Rossview and they win 10-4.
Yep.
Even though they lose some games?
Match, yes.
Friendlies?
Match.
That's an exhibition, by the way.
Correct.
Friendly, I know.
Friendly, yeah. It's like a scrimmage.
Actually, I talked to Coach Burgoyne about this. He says, did we talk about this before on air?
About a friendly?
No, about a match or a game. He says
we did
people
not.
that call it football, the proper name, they would call it a match.
It's football.
Okay.
Yeah. They call it a match.
Southern
Correct.
accent. It's just
that's right.
My accent threw that off. All right, let's talk volleyball. Brentwood, a 3-1 winner over Summit. And Coach Riker has to be pretty pleased with that performance. You never, you don't want to lose, but to win that first set against Brentwood, have them up against the ropes a little bit, he had to be pretty pleased, wouldn't you think?
I think so. I think they're all just beating their head. Every time we're closing the gap, and then Brentwood pulls out the win again, So, I know he's very proud of it because that's the best team in the state, but I know he also wants to get that overall win in that volleyball match.
Which is tough to do.
Tough to do.
Ravenwood had a 3-0 win over Franklin, and then Nolensville, a big 5-set win at Hillsboro, so congratulations to the Lady Knights. Now, recaps of our games. Let's start with the Battle of the Woods. Game day was there. Talk about that, because you have more experience with this game day thing than I do. So I've been to 3, right? At Franklin, where I was sort of a guest host, I guess, last year.
No, you were.
And then Fairview this year. Now, Brentwood, Ravenwood, Battle of the Woods. Talk about how that ranks in terms of game day performance by the Brentwood faithful.
I thought they brought it. I thought they did a great job. It was definitely the best game day crowd we've ever had at Brentwood High School, without a doubt. And here's what I thought. We were getting ready to talk about it off air. The available seating that they had, they don't have quite as much as they do at Ravenwood on that home side, but the available seating that they had, it was full. They were all in their white. It was a whiteout. They were all in their white shirts. They were loud. They were rowdy. And so I thought they brought it, man. I thought that, last time we were there, the Raptor Nation was across the stands chanting, "We can't hear you," to them at their own place. So that definitely didn't happen this time. I thought they brought it. The only time I was a little disappointed was when Coach Daniels came up, because the last time he came up, they gave him the business. I mean, even he was kind of like, geez, I think he said that. He goes, "They don't like me." No, they don't. But then I figured out what they were doing. I turned around thinking, gosh, they're not. And the entire student section, Bruin Nation, had their back turned to him because he was irrelevant to them. I thought that was pretty good.
Didn't even give him the respect to notice him.
Didn't even notice him. Didn't even know he was up there. They thought it was a break. So I thought that was pretty good. Even, again, Coach Daniels was, he's so great at that, man. That even caught him off guard. But I thought they brought it. I thought it was awesome. And the other thing, I know that, and you know what, TSSAA gets they get the criticism for this. It's not the TSSAA, it's the NFHS. The other thing I loved is Ravenwood wore the black jerseys, black pants. Brentwood wore the royal blue. I love that, man. I think that's awesome.
So talk about that rule, about what happens
It's
there.
very cool. So the away team has to wear their whites, correct? So if they don't, they get flagged no matter what. So Coach Daniels got flagged at the beginning of the game, 15-yard. It's up to Coach Crawford whether to decline it or not. And obviously he declined it, and they go on about their way. Now the other cool thing about that, though, is now that's one 15-yard on the sideline. If there was another one, if there's another sideline penalty, Coach Daniels would have to leave the game.
Even though the penalty wasn't accepted.
Even though the penalty wasn't
Has
accepted.
nothing to do with it.
Has nothing
Hey,
to do
how
with
did this start, by the way?
But I love that, man. Didn't you think that looked cool?
It looked cool. Will they do that? So will they make that agreement when they play at Ravenwood? Because I haven't seen that game at Ravenwood.
It's between the two of them. I don't want to speak for him. I think Coach Crawford likes wearing his whites. But, yeah, they would. I know he would. Crawford did it a couple years ago with Dr. Defense. So I don't know. I think you would see Brentwood wear the whites, but I think that's cool that they did that. I loved it. I thought the atmosphere was already awesome. You know, and then we were talking before. I was kind of kidding, but I wasn't. The Guru was there. Murphy Fair. Kreger was there.
Tommy K was in the house.
Tommy K was there. And tweeting they do it big here, or it's just different or something like that.
He knows.
The reason is everybody knew that was the game of the week last Friday. And so then we got to the picks, and the game was played. It did not disappoint.
So last thing about the uniforms, so I wanted to ask you, because obviously you're sort of a uniform expert. Why is it the opposite in basketball?
I don't know. I've never understood that. And soccer used to be like basketball, and then they just changed it. Last year? It used to be white was at home, and then dark was on the road, and now they flip-flopped it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I get it in basketball, but I wouldn't want the white to be home in football, would you? I think that. But you know,
Just
I look
'cause
back
I'm used to it.
You look back at some of the old pictures, man. Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Vanderbilt used to wear their gold jerseys, and Tennessee wore the orange. Not good for the uniform business because you want everybody to have to buy a white. But
I believe Vandy had
cool.
the gold on back in the Whit Taylor, Wayman Buggs days. 82 victory.
They probably did.
Was that 82?
The last time they beat Alabama?
No, I'm talking Vandy, Tennessee.
Tennessee. No.
Which might have been the same year, right? I know they've beaten them since, but I think they had the gold. I just have a picture in my mind from my childhood. By the way, this will probably all get cut out, as it should. Anyway.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, man. The whole atmosphere was awesome. And then I tell you the other thing, too. You see them. Brentwood's bigger than I thought they were. Ravenwood's bigger than I thought they were. There was a lot of big-time players out there.
No doubt. And you hear people talking upset and maybe, but that was, according to the state rankings, number 3 versus number 7. I mean, to me, that's no upset.
No. Well, I think we talked about that on game day. Like, you hate to call it, technically it's an upset.
Technically.
But it's not like, this isn't like Georgia State beating UT here. This is two really good football teams. And at the beginning of the year, we talked about that. Like, I'm not so sure who the better team is. And then Ravenwood has just been on such a tear. But the thing that I thought was neat was, we knew that. It just goes back to say, we talk about it all the time. It's just different here, man. You got a team that's nationally recognized, and they allow a guy to catch 7 touchdowns. And we talked about that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you what's not going to happen. Ron Crawford.
And it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. And anyway, so I think Coach Daniels and his staff's a great staff, and obviously Coach Crawford and his staff's a great staff.
And they'll play again.
Oh, they're going to play again. Well, I don't know. Independence might have. Well, yeah, it depends on how it all works.
Right. It's going to.
There's a good chance.
When are they going to play is the question, I think.
Right, correct.
I think they play again.
Correct.
Now, we talk about a lot of performances, obviously. Cade Granzow, great game, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, passing, 1 rushing, which is pretty consistent with his year.
Yes.
Maybe the player of the game, though, Thomas Day.
Well, He's pretty
right?
dang, yeah.
Big field goal there at the end of the half to put Brentwood up 9-7, because really at that game it felt like Brentwood sort of dominated.
Yeah.
But it looked like they were going to be down 7-6 at the half, and then Day comes up big. I believe that one was a 44-yarder.
Oh, he's definitely a weapon, yeah. He's definitely a weapon, and that was we didn't get to that on game day. It's funny you say that, but that was one thing I wanted to talk about in game day is, Luke Akers, here he is, the UCLA commit, and you're thinking, well, when you're going down, I always like to do that. You look at quarterback. Mm-hmm. And really, once you started looking at this game like that, then it's even less of an upset. Yeah, right, quarterback. Who do you give the advantage to? I call that a draw. I mean, they're different, but both those guys, you know what I'm saying? Then you would normally think that because he's going to UCLA that the kicking game would go to Ravenwood. Well, not necessarily, man. Thomas Day is going to be playing somewhere on Saturday. Their punter, Tabor Miller, he's the real deal. He's going to be playing somewhere on Saturday. So it really was so evenly matched. But, yeah, he's a weapon, man. And I guarantee you, I wasn't there, but I guarantee you Coach Crawford didn't even hesitate attempting a 44-yarder.
He didn't. Bruin defense, talk about them only giving up 187 yards of total offense, which is saying something.
Well, it's kind of like those Franklin-Brentwood games, Franklin-Centennial games. I'm asking you as a coach, how much of that do you contribute to these two teams just know each other so well? You know what I'm saying? I mean, one, Coach Crawford and them had to have had a great game plan, but I just think, like, there's just no surprises with these two. Do you think that's part of it?
I think it's part of it, and for some reason, those hotly contested rivalry games, it has a way of evening up the talent. I don't know. It just seems to do that.
I agree. But yes, the defense play. I mean, we're talking. Think about what you just asked. We're talking about a team that put 61 points up 7 days earlier against a multi-time state champion. I mean, think about it that way.
And who would have our pundit or pundits? I don't know if it's more than one guy. 16-point favorite.
The pundit's gone.
So
can we go back to the old pundit?
Yeah, maybe. Obviously, not expecting a Brentwood.
I don't know if you could hear me because it was so loud on game day. Yeah, okay.
Got a little dig on our pundit.
the fill-in pundit.
Yeah, fill-in pundit. All right, let's move on here. Independence 28-27 over Franklin in overtime. It was our WCTV game of the week. And, by the way, when Indy took the lead there in overtime, it's also our WCTV play of the week.
You would think, I'm surprised that wasn't their first play out of the huddle when it started on the 10. But over the middle, once again, same play. That's Jackson Campbell, and he catches it. Ethan Cash, Jackson Campbell, finally, Mr. Campbell able to get into the end zone. After their first turn in overtime, up 28-21. And there's that good piece of work by Ethan Cash.
Reed Kemp right on the money defensively, but clean play by Campbell.
Ethan Cash keeps making plays, man. Jackson Campbell, he's another guy. We've been talking so much about Bishop because of the last 2 weeks, but this guy's been steady all year long, and he's a playmaker. But Ethan Cash, man, I don't know what else you can say about it. And what about Parker Hazard and Paul Brees on the call, man? The legend Paul Brees, they bring it every week. I love looking forward to the play of the week just because I want to hear how excited Brees gets.
And Coach Brees, one of our loyal listeners or
maybe
watchers.
Is he a viewer?
Is he a viewer?
No, I think he's more of a critic, man, because if he disagrees with something, it airs at 8:30 on Wednesday. I get a text about 8:34.
And you get corrected about something you did wrong.
Yes. Yeah. But hey, that's what you want to see, man. Those kind of games. And then big-time players making big-time plays, and that's what you just saw.
And you feel bad for Coach Webb and Franklin switching quarterbacks, going back to Nichols, which I'm assuming maybe caught Independence off guard at least initially. Mm-hmm. But it looked like it was going to work out. They had a chance. And then Independence, of course, scoring there in overtime. Franklin scores and goes for two. Now, I know Coach will get criticized for that. I'm all about it. Underdog on the road. If you would have asked Coach Webb or anybody there at Franklin, I think if they would have said, we're going to have a 2-point conversion, to win the game. Will you take it right now? I think everybody would have signed up for that.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I think it was the right thing to do.
No doubt.
I should have gone back and looked, but have they scored 27 points in a game this year?
The Siegel game, I don't know what they scored there.
Siegel, yeah. So
I'm not sure. I think they scored a few that night.
I get it. I mean, hey, we need to go ahead. If we keep going possession for possession with them, more than likely this isn't going to end well for us. And it was a great play call, man.
It really was.
I mean, something tells me they knew if it got to that, that's what they were going to call. He's probably been sitting on that. That was a beautiful play call.
And then really another gutsy call. 4th and 7 on the touchdown in overtime, they run the ball.
Yes, and got it in.
With Guy Lipscomb.
Lipscomb.
That guy does everything. In fact, Lipscomb had 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he's an athlete, player.
He's a player. Cash 30 of 45, 340 yards and a touchdown. Again, those 2 interceptions, both to Guy Lipscomb. All right, let's move on here. Centennial 21 at Dickson County 7. A little closer than I thought it would be. But Centennial getting over 500, as you talked about last week. Now they're on a streak. 2 games in a row. First region win. And I'm telling you, Tate, just go ahead and circle it. Battle of Franklin, our next game day. That's going to determine the 4th playoff spot, in my opinion.
I agree, and it's been like that for a couple years, and so it's going to be that one's kind of like Brentwood and Ravenwood, a little bit different this year as far as they're not playing for 1 and 2, but I don't think you can ever put records into your process of who you're picking that game when it's Centennial and Franklin. So I can't wait. I think you're right, and I think Dickson County's playing a little bit better than they were earlier in the year, so I wouldn't be too worried about that final score if you're a Centennial fan. They're playing better. They were
especially defensively.
That's right, and they were banged up earlier. But the thing that I thought was awesome, one of their leaders was out this week, and so Josh Forsey and Zaw Pickens, they pick up the slack in the running game combined for over 200 yards. Zaw had 2 touchdowns. So you're always glad to see that, and then building a little bit of depth. But so this puts, what does this make Centennial? They're
3-2.
3-2.
1-2 in the league with Franklin and Brentwood to end the season.
I think if at the beginning of the season you told Coach Kreisky going into week 6 you're going to be 3-2, I think he'd have taken that.
Tough game, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, but heading to a homecoming game against a non-league opponent at that. By the way, Dickson County, don't be staring at my notes. Dickson County, how many points are they averaging? I'm not dogging Dickson, I just thought this was interesting. And you talked about they had a chance to win their last 2 games. They are averaging
5 points a game?
4 points a game.
4 points a game. Well, until they beat McGavock 13-12, they hadn't scored a touchdown yet.
If you have a starting guard in basketball getting 4 points a game, that's not
You're
great.
mad. They're not starting for you.
Assuming he gets to play the whole game.
Reese Glover had 4 points before he took his warm-up pants off.
Before we got dressed. All right, here we go. Nolensville, 40 sleeper, snoozer, 43-0. Lawrence County, we talked about them being improved, but you said not that improved.
Nope.
They moved. They're 2-0 in region play along with Marshall County. Another game to circle, November 1st, last game of the season at Marshall County. That's going to determine the region title, you think?
Without a doubt, and it should. But it's a little bit different this year. There's been times when that was going to decide it, but really Nolensville is trying to figure out if they can stay in this game. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Nolensville is a big brother now. But and here's the cool thing, as we're starting to see this Nolensville thing as this program grows. That's a game that should have been Popcorn City. We ought to go in, thump them, get the puppies in. Nobody gets hurt. Our big players ought to play well. But it doesn't always happen that way, right? Because we're not mature enough. That is exactly what that game should have looked like. And got to get a lot of people involved, got a lot of people to play. Gallardi played well, right? Kuchris, over 100 receiving yards.
I know
touchdown, no flipping interceptions.
Right.
I'm disappointed in that. No, I'm kidding. I don't think Lawrence County probably.
He did have a fumble recovery.
I bet the ball didn't even go in his vicinity. But got another touchdown. Pastilka had over 80 yards rushing and had a touchdown. And then the kid, the diaper dandy, Samson Johnson, a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Unreal. This is amazing.
It really is. And I don't know if you saw this. Did you see what Coach Derrick did in the first quarter? Which I thought was great, trying to show, hey, we're playing to win here. In the first quarter alone, went for 2, and had a successful onside kick.
Oh, a little Kevin Kelly action.
Well, let me ask you. I know it's different now with Huddle and these different, coaching software packages that people have. But I remember talking to Roger Holmes when he was at Beach, and he would tell me he would run certain formations and certain plays so it would be on film.
No, without a doubt. Coach Flight did
Is that something maybe he's doing, or is that we're past that?
No. I mean, this is a game you can probably win with taking some chances you wouldn't normally do. But it also, and this is a Huddle thing too, might have been something that they saw. They might have seen something where this is wide open, we might as well. And then it's a double threat. 1, you get it, and then 2, it's something they got to work on. You want to hear my favorite Roger Holmes quote? It's suitable for TV.
Let's run the wing too.
Nope. Kid ran like a 8-yard stop, curl route, whatever. He catches it, and what's the thing you always heard your entire life? You catch it and you turn outside. Not this dum-dum. He catches it and goes on inside. Boop, boop. Holmes blows the whistle. He goes, boy, don't be going in there. Ain't nothing waiting on you in there but a headache. Run it again. That's my Roger Holmes quote.
Great coach, by the way.
Great. Winning a lot
guy.
of games in Georgia.
Yes, he has. All right, what about, I was going to mention this with Coach Derrick. We've got these veteran coaches in this league, Crawford, Webb, but we've got a couple good young coaches now in this league too. Daniels and Derrick are rising stars.
The thing I love about Derrick is he's young, but it's not like he's in his 20s.
Right.
He's done it the way I think you ought to do it, man. He's been under good people. He coached and GA'd at Austin P. And then he came and he worked for Hester, and there were times he could have had head coaching jobs, and he didn't think he was quite ready. So he stayed with Hester and he kept learning. And he was ready to be a head coach. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of days, you see it all now, these young guys, they don't want to go somewhere unless they can promise to be coordinator or whatever. It's not what I'd do. I'd go get with Ron Crawford or Donnie Webb or Scott Blade or whoever, and I'd learn. And so anyways, I think he's taking the right path, and obviously he's doing a great job.
Well, and some of those young coaches too, this is not a football thing obviously, but somebody has to sweep the floor, wash the uniforms, and you got to work your way up to being the head coach. And he had, like you said, he's really done it the right way. All right, moving on. Fairview, no surprise, 34-13 winner over Sycamore. So they were on the road, 3 straight games. They come back home. Now they're 2-0 in the league. They'll go back on the road this week, but another big performance by some of those same names we keep hearing, right, Tate?
Logan Nardozzi. This one took me a little bit off guard. 220 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. That didn't take me off guard. 37 attempts, 37 carries. That tells me Sycamore was not going to get beat by Garrett Wooten and them on the outside, but that must have been a tough game. So I would love to see, I wish we could take these guys from, I'd like to put Logan Nardozzi at Ravenwood and see how he did. You know what I'm saying? I think that guy can play anywhere. And then is just as impressive, Logan Parsons on the defensive side had 13 tackles. So he was every bit as active on the defensive side as Logan was. But big win. Sycamore played them better than I thought they would. But doesn't matter. They still got.
Fairview still the elite team in that region.
Without a doubt.
Summit, 38-7 win for Old Sparty at Overton. Here maybe was a surprise, though. Andrew Pierce. Now let's listen to Andrew's stats. 75 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, 30 yards rushing, 4 carries, returned 3 kickoffs for 30 yards, and picked off a pass that also led to points. And it's his first year as a senior playing football.
That's impressive.
Did you know that about his first year?
I did not. No, I did not know that. He doesn't play like it.
No, not at all.
He's had some big weeks. No, that was. I was glad to see that again. That tells me the Summit teams, even though we got a sophomore at quarterback, and one of our best skill guys is a sophomore. That shows maturity right there. They should have got after them, and they did. I thought that game was a little worrisome because, film don't lie, and Coach Coleman and Coach Melton and the staff can tell them, boy, they're sitting there watching that, right? They went up there and took care of business. So.
But Nick Koutras
hadn't been in a long
and Doug Mulliken.
That's right.
They aren't walking through that door. Remember Doug?
More Nick Kuchars.
I'm buddies with Coach Mulligan, so I had to throw
He's a
him in.
great guy.
He's great.
Yeah,
Good coach, too. Good
And
coach,
he,
too.
to be fair, he didn't have Fruit Bell or Keith
course.
Davis and
Of
Phil
course.
Horde.
Of course.
Did you know I knew all those names? That's pretty strong.
I don't know him, so
Yeah,
you may have made them up.
They won the state championship, 82.
Destin Wade, 163 yards, 113 passing, rushed for 50. Keaton Wade, 106 yards, and a score on just 6 carries.
6 carries, that's right.
It's pretty good average.
Yeah. They're dudes, man. I think they've
Somewhere
entered,
between 30 and 40.
they've entered dude
They have.
dude status.
As sophomores.
Yep.
All right, this week's games. Let's get right to this week's games. Ravenwood, a much-needed bye this week. Brentwood, 4-1 versus CPA. Big win for CPA. It was a rematch of the state championship game last year, and it kind of went the same way. Really dominated BGA, 28-0. Don't think Brentwood will slip. You know, maybe they slipped a little bit against Henry. Nothing against Henry.
Right.
But I think Coach Crawford will have their attention this week in terms of saying, hey, 2 weeks ago, look what let's take care of business. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. I think that was their, for whatever reason, I think that was their hiccup. They're back playing well. They got a quarterback that, that they can really ride. And so, no, I don't think so. Plus, with it being CPA, so many of those kids know each other. It's going to be at home. I don't see any hiccup at all of them not playing well. Now, CPA's obviously playing better, and that was pretty neat. They were 0-4, and then they went out and they literally imposed their will on the Wild Kitties and got a 28-0 victory.
Centennial, 3-2 versus Shelbyville. A very good Shelbyville team. Only loss is to Page.
Yeah.
Right? And they're coming off a bye, too. So that's going to be, that'll obviously have an impact. Centennial's on a roll. Got to make sure they're not looking ahead at the Battle of Franklin.
Yeah, I think this is a scary game for Centennial because I think Shelbyville's really good. I think Coach Palmer does a great job. You got to remember now, they were last-second play away and 2 getting called back from beating Page, right? So this is a game Centennial can win, but it's going to be a dogfight. I think it'll be a good game, but Shelbyville quality program. Gosh, if they could get to 4-2, that'd be unbelievable.
It really would. Fairview, 3-2, going back on the road to take on Greenbrier, but this is not the Greenbrier of 6-7 years ago,
This
right?
isn't Kirk Williams Greenbrier?
No. So I don't think there'll be much resistance there. Franklin, 1-4, taking on McGavock at McGavock, 0-5. It's a get-well game for the Rebels, I got a feeling.
I think so, too. Going to be interested to see how they handle the quarterback situation. I think maybe you're going to see both of them, but Coach Webb talked about it at the beginning of the season. The reason they put Guy there was to find ways to get him the ball. And you make this switch, you're still going to be getting him the ball. So, and then Joshua will have another week of playing quarterback. So I'm interested to see that. Yes, get well game. I'd like to see them go out and get like a 35-0 win.
Be great. All right, next up, Independence at Hendersonville. Independence on a 4-game winning streak. The Commandos are 2-3, but they've got some pretty good losses.
Oh, yeah.
Oakland, Beach, and a pretty darn good Lebanon team, too.
Yes, and missed an extra point. That's what I'm trying to do a better job talking about the kickers, man. You sleep on that kicking game, it bit them in the tail. They missed an extra point, but yeah, they're pretty good. And you know what's funny, man? A lot of people, especially down here in Wilco, had quit playing the Hendersonville because they don't like seeing that wing tee. They run the traditional wing tee. You don't see it but once a year, and man, it's hard to prep for 1 week. So yeah, this is a tough game. But I tell you, I hate to jinx them. But like I said, Coach Blade, obviously we got a guy who's got 2 state championships under his belt, or runner-up under his belt. This might be the best coaching job he's done, man. I mean, I'm telling you, week 1, the future was bleak. You know what I'm saying? They are playing really, really well.
Playing really well. All right, next up, Nolensville. Homecoming, a lot of homecoming games this week. 4-0, taking on a 4-1 Columbia Central team. And, the only loss for Columbia Central, a closer than maybe we thought game against Summit. So this will be a tough test for Nolensville.
I think so, too. I think it's their toughest test of the year. But I really do. I think Ryder Gallardi's the real deal. And I think it's tough, but this is a game Nolensville should win.
Page, 3-1. going to Giles County. Patriots should be rested up. Giles County, their only win was the opening week win over Lincoln County. Now, it's going to be 7 degrees of Timmy Johnson, right? So, Lincoln County coached by?
Tim Johnson.
Who coached where locally?
Franklin.
Who
and Booga.
But who left Franklin for?
Giles County.
Yes, and he's back at Lincoln County. Giles County's only win.
Where he played.
Giles County's only win.
Giles County's only win. But now they've got some, don't let that 1-3 fool you.
They're a scary 1-3. Kind of like Overton, right? Was for some.
Scarier, in my opinion. Giles has played a tough schedule. I still think Page is the better football team. But Giles has played a tough schedule. I'll put it this way, East Nashville's on a tear. They've had 4 shutouts out of 5 games. They've given up 15 points all season. All 15 of them were to Giles County.
Wow. I did not know that.
They're better than you think.
Final game, another homecoming game. This one for Old Sparty, 5-0. We'll take on the visiting Vikings of Clarksville Northwest. After a 3-0 start for Northwest, back-to-back losses to Montgomery Central and Kenwood.
This could be bad.
In a good way for Williamson County.
In a good way for the Sparty, Old Sparty.
All right, let's talk pick'ems.
I'll put it this way. I wouldn't even show them film.
I bet.
I wouldn't even show them film this week. I'd work on Summit.
So, Coach Coleman, if you're watching, Tate says don't show film. We'll see how that goes.
It'll be too late by then.
All right, let's talk about pick'ems. Last week, undefeated. I'm back, baby.
Gosh.
6-0, 28-7 for the year. You were 5-1. You're 26-9 for the year. Dr. Qualls, 5-1. You guys missed the same game, as did the fans. Everybody missed one game. It was the Brentwood Ravenwood, except for me. Yep. They're also 28-7. So the fans and I are tied for first.
This is unbelievable.
Qualls would be third, right? Because we're tied for first, and then you're fourth.
I'm the caboose.
Fans, keep voting, by the way. We're getting more votes every week now. Go to Twitter, WCSCO Athletics. Okay, very quickly. I know we're short on time. Our first game, Brentwood versus CPA. I'm going Bruins.
I think the Bruins.
Centennial, Shelbyville. What say you, Mr. Mathews?
You go first.
No, that's why I went first on the first one.
I'm going with Centennial.
I'm going Kreisky and Centennial. Fairview, Greenbrier. I'm going Fairview. Franklin, McGavock.
Franklin.
And you picked Fairview, obviously. Indy at Hendersonville.
Indy.
I'm going
Tougher
Indy.
than you think, though.
Nolensville, Columbia Central.
Nolo.
I'm going Nolensville as well. We're going to pick the same teams, by the way. Page at Giles County.
Page.
Summit, Clarksville Northwest.
Popcorn City, man. Popcorn City. Give me Shelbyville. We got to change this up. I'm Shelbyville.
Oh, you're going Shelbyville?
Yep.
Okay, let me find my little Shelbyville.
Hope I'm wrong. And, you know, I told Independence I wouldn't pick them again for the rest of the season. I hope I didn't just jinx them.
Tate, as always, great to be with you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.